The U.S. calls for a UN Security Council vote on the latest ceasefire proposal. Blinken begins a 3-day Middle East trip in Egypt. Gantz quits Israel's government in dispute with Netanyahu over Gaza war. Gazans recall unimaginably intense Israeli bombing around the hostage raid. The U.S. calls for a UN Security Council vote on the latest ceasefire proposal. Image: a man walks on a sidewalk, strolls past a wall plastered with portraits. Pictures on a wall in Tel Aviv on Sunday showing people who were kidnapped during the October 7 attack in Israel. The United States asked the United Nations Security Council late Sunday to vote on its latest resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza as Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken traveled to the Middle East in his latest push for a pause in fighting. The U.S.-led proposal would bring about a full and immediate ceasefire with the release of hostages. Nate Evans, a spokesman for the U.S. mission to the United Nations, said in a statement on Sunday. Israel has accepted this proposal, and the Security Council has an opportunity to speak with one voice and call on Hamas to do the same, he added. Israel's recent military operations in the Gaza Strip, including a heavy air and ground assault that resulted in the rescue of 4 Israeli hostages but killed scores of Palestinians, have led to particularly bruising international criticism of its conduct. That may create fresh momentum for a ceasefire just as Mr. Blinken begins his 8th tour through the Middle East since the start of the war in October. Recent experience shows that the politics of hammering out a realistic ceasefire deal are extraordinarily complex. One major obstacle has been the United States, a permanent member of the Security Council. It has vetoed 3 ceasefire resolutions. Last month, a U.S. official said that the United States also planned to block a draft resolution from Algeria that described Israel as an occupying power in Gaza and called for an immediate stop to the Israeli military offensive in the city of Rafah. Even if the United States supports a given proposal, there is no guarantee that both Israel and Hamas will too. The current 3-phase U.S.-endorsed plan would begin with an immediate temporary ceasefire and work toward a permanent end to the war and the reconstruction of Gaza. As of last week, neither Israel nor Hamas had said definitively that they would accept or reject it. One major sticking point is whether a deal would allow Hamas to remain in control of Gaza, a scenario that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has described as a red line. Another issue concerns the precise timing and logistics of a ceasefire. Mr. Netanyahu has said that Israel will fight until Hamas's governing and military capabilities are destroyed, but Hamas has made any progress on a hostage deal conditional on an Israeli commitment for a permanent ceasefire and the full withdrawal of its troops from Gaza. On Sunday, a new development in Israel's domestic politics, the departure of a centrist party from Mr. Netanyahu's emergency wartime cabinet, seemed likely to complicate the ceasefire negotiations. The centrist party's leader, Benny Gantz, has boosted the international credibility of Mr. Netanyahu's government. Mr. Gantz has called for a ceasefire deal and pushed for an administrative body, backed by Americans, Europeans, Palestinians, and other Arabs, to oversee civilian affairs in post-war Gaza. Analysts say Mr. Gantz's departure could embolden far-right partners in Mr. Netanyahu's governing coalition who have threatened to bring down the government if he moves forward with the latest proposal. The U.S. mission's statement on Sunday alluded to Gaza's post-war future by saying that the ceasefire deal would lead to a roadmap for ending the crisis altogether and a multi-year internationally backed reconstruction plan. The statement did not provide further details or explain how Mr. Blinken plans to sell the plan to Israel and other parties in the region during his trip.